Before ununue laptop yeyote, lazima ujue kitu moja. Mahitaji yako or what you are going to do with the laptop is what is going to determine what laptop that you are going to get. Alright? Ukijua unachohitaji, hutadanganywa, hutapoteza pesa na hutachukua mashini itakukosea muda wote. We'll break down every use so that by the end of this video or even the series, you will know exactly what specifications that you are going for and the laptop that you are going for. Hii ndio foundation ya kila ununuzi bora wa laptop. These are among the few courses that really do not need laptop as such, but we'll be recommending the best laptops that are best suited for their needs, alright? Now, let's break down the daily life of a regular student. These are some of the activities that they do. They join virtual classes, kuandika notes as they are listening to the lecturer online as they are teaching on the virtual classes. On the side, they are opening tabs on the browsers. They are looking for research materials, reading materials, type essays, na kuedit even PowerPoint slides. Maybe unafanya group work kwenye Google Docs ama Microsoft Word. Sometimes unajibu emails or una upload assignment to, or you are communicating to the lecturers via the emails, alright? At night, unataka tu kutulia Netflix, YouTube. Now, these are some of the activities that a regular student does. And that means the activities do not demand so much hardware capabilities from the laptop. Okay? Kwenye episode inayofuata, nitakuambia laptop specs exactly unazohitaji ili usiwahi poteza pesa ukibuy lapi. Now that we have defined the needs for regular students for the courses that I've mentioned in the previous episode, we want to look at the hardware that we are focusing on, okay? Considering that we are not doing heavy things with this laptop, then it is important for me to look at what are we going for. What do we want from our laptop is speed. We don't want a laptop that can hang. Hatutaki laptop ita hang, alafu hatutaki laptop tukifanya vitu ati inazima. So we ideally want speed. The multitasking aspect of regular students is not heavy as such, and unlike the IT students and the engineering students. So we want to look at the anytime unataka lap yako ikue very fast, okay, ifanye vitu teke without hanging. These are the hardware requirements that you need to look at. There is now the processor, there is the RAM, and now there is the storage. Those are the determining factors of whether your laptop will be fast and efficient or slow and disappointing. Let's meet in the next episode as we are talking about the processor. The common mistakes that people do when selecting the processor is that they think that if you get an i5 or an i7, you have landed on the jackpot. But that's not the case. You can choose an i5 or an i7, but mtu akona i3 will beat by far huyo mtu akona i7. Why? The i3 or i5 or i7 is not the most important thing. There is another aspect that we must look at so that it gives you a general outlook of what this processor can do. Okay. Now, before you go further to the details, let's first understand what is a processor. Okay, for anyone who doesn't know what a processor is. The processor is the hardware component that is the most central. Processor is like the brain of a laptop or a computer. Without it, the other hardware components are as useless as they sound. Alright? So we want to take some time to figure out which is the best processor for our case, the regular students. Having an idea of what the processor does, we need to take time to understand the categories of the processors. So we have three categories of the processor. That is the processor that does basic things. That is what we call the low tier. There is now the middle tier that does moderate things. And there is now the processor that does heavy things, heavy duty activities or tasks. Okay. That being said, we are going to assign letters to each category. This is the low. I'm going to assign a letter called Y. So this is the middle. I'll assign it the letter U. And then there's the high tasks or heavy duty. I'll assign it the letter H. Now, as regular students, we are not interested into doing moderate things or heavy duty things. So we are interested in the low tier. Yeah, our activities do not demand so much hardware capability or anything as such. So we ideally want to go for the Y. Okay. So what is the relationship between the letters that I have mentioned and the terms that you often hear, I3, I5 and I7? Let me first start by explaining the naming system that is used by Intel, because kuna kampuni mbili za zinatengeneza processor. There is Intel and there is AMD. Okay, the processor that we are going to talk about in this episode is processors from Intel. Right now, Intel wanakuanga na familia ya processors since way back when they started manufacturing processors, starting from Celeron, that was the first processor, then Pentium, then i3, which was introduced back in 2010, then i5 almost at the same time as i3, and then there is i7, and then there is i9. Interested to see Celeron na si Pentium ni kuanzia sasa, kuanzia i3 na i5. Hata tusiende i7, it's for people who really do heavy tasks. But let me briefly talk about the three groups, the i3, i5 and i7. Each family inakuanga na 3 laptops. In the i3 family, kuna laptop yenye inafanya low duty, kuna hii ya moderate, and then kuna high. Okay, based on the letters that I mentioned. In the i5 also kuna laptop yenye imetengenezwa kufanya low duty, na kuna moderate, which most people do use, and there is now the high duty. So hiyo ni ya mambo na gaming na all that stuff. Still on the i7 there is lap yenye imetengenezwa kufanya low duty, kuna ingine ya average duty, na sasa kuna ile ya heavy duty which most gamers use. Okay, of course kuna i9, but this is not a topic that we should talk about, because hata i9 hata ituhusu hata kidogo. We are students. Alright, as a student, what are you going for? It's either uchague i3 yenye iko na Y ama i3U. Okay, as for the i5, chagua i5 Y ama U if you have the budget. But what I can tell you is that ukichagua i5 you need to have 20,000 or above to get a good laptop for that. Na sisi tuko na 15k peke yake. We are working with a budget of 15k probably to 20k thereabout. Ili uko na hiyo do peke yake ya kununua lapi. So I'll get you a good laptop. So i3 will be best suited for that particular budget that you have, 15,000 Kenyan shillings. Now, processor name inakuanga na structure inakanga hivi. Okay, inaanza from i3, sijui there's a number there, and then immediately after the number there's a letter which you should resonate to. Ukipata U, i3U or i3Y, good. i5Y, good. Now, something else that you need to ensure is that e processor ni 64-bit. We don't want to go for the 32-bit, because if you choose a 64-bit, it will be way more faster. Okay, and something else, the processor needs to be at a reasonable speed so that it match na the other hardware components that we're going to talk about. So ideally, processor should be at above 1.6 gigahertz. Okay, that is the base speed. So in summary, we are going for the i3. That's our target for the budget that we have. i3U or i3Y or i5Y. Okay, and then the processor should be 64-bit, and then the speed, which we call the clock speed, above 1.6 gigahertz. All right, now let's meet in the next episode as we are talking about the storage. As a student, it is wise to take time to understand what storage type that you are getting for your laptop. I can assure you that the storage that you will choose will determine the speed at which this laptop will be functioning with. Okay, there are two types of storage. Storage kazi yake ni kuload the operating system and also to store the files that we are working with. You want to store PDFs, you want to store docs, you want to store media, uko na movies, you want to store. Hiyo ndio inakuanga kazi ya storage. Okay, anytime that you are interacting with a computer or a laptop, there is something that is happening in the background. Files are being stored and files are being retrieved. Okay, and you want to ensure that this process, as it is happening at a reasonable speed. Yeah, so there are two types of storages. There is SSD and there is HDD. Okay, now what is the difference between SSD and HDD? HDD is one of the earliest and oldest forms of storage, and that means the technology is somehow outdated and it will be slow. Now as for the SSD, it is the early versions, it's the modern version of storage. Now as a student, you want to go for the SSD simply because you will be loading the operating system faster. Now a majority of people who use laptops use the Windows operating system. Now SSD has the ability to load faster. Okay, and I want you to watch this video so that you understand what I'm talking about. Hiyo ni video ya two laptops which have the two types of storages, SSD na HDD. Hii lap iko na SSD, it has taken almost 34 seconds. As for the other one, it has taken almost 1 minute and 40 seconds. Now you have seen the difference. See, that means as we are doing our things, it will slow down our activities. That's what we are talking about, and we want to ensure that our laptop is fast enough to enable us to do whatever you are doing at a reasonable speed. Okay, so as a student, you want to go for the SSD. Okay, because it is faster. Briefly talk about the SSD. There are two types of storages of SSD. There is SATA and there is NVMe. I'm pretty sure you've heard of that term somewhere. Okay, now SATA, there is version 1, version 2, version 3. That is SATA 1, SATA 2, SATA 3. So sisi we want to go for the 3, because if you choose SATA 1, chances are it will almost be at the same speed as the HDD. Na sisi kumbuka, we are interested in the speed. So SATA 3 will offer quite a reasonable speed. So we want to go for the SATA 3 or something above that. If you can get a NVMe, good. Let's meet in the next episode as we're talking about the RAM. Now the RAM is the last component that we are going to look at in this episode for laptops for students. Our goal is to be able to handle student stuff without hanging. Okay, and RAM is one of the hardware components that affect the speed. Okay, now let's understand what is RAM first. So RAM inapea space hizo apps zinaran kwa lap yako space so that you can do whatever you want. Okay, if you are writing a report, good. If you are reading a PDF, it has been powered by the RAM. Okay, after kuelewa kazi ya RAM ni nini, we need to understand the types of RAM. So we have the first generation of RAM, which we call the DDR1, and then there came the second one after the improvement of technology, DDR2, and then later came the DDR3, and then DDR4, and then DDR5. Interest yetu ni kumbuka these integral components have to be in sync in terms of speed, so that we ensure that a laptop yetu itakutupea nini performance mzuri in terms of speed. Our eyes are set on the DDR3 and DDR4, so that is match na the other hardware components, including the processor, there is the ROM, which you call the storage, and now the RAM. Those three are the integral components that affect the speed of our laptop. Alright, now having known that we need DDR3 or DDR4, we need to consider also tuko na budget 15k. DDR4 kuipata na hiyo budget, it will be a bit difficult, so DDR3 is the most suitable for us. So conclusion ya T, sisi tunaenda for DDR3. This is the quality. What about the quantity? Size haitakuwa mob, hatutapata mob na 15k, so that means we will get only 4 GB. Okay, remember you have first selected the quality first before the quantity. Now 4 GB will actually be enough to enable us to do whatever a student does, writing, typesetting, all that, all those functions, all those tasks that we mentioned in episode, is it 2 or 3? Episode 3, I think. Yeah, 4 GB will be enough. It's time to look at laptops that have all these features that I have mentioned from, is it episode 4 or 5? Oh, to this point on the RAM. Now, in all honesty, 15,000 Kenyan shillings cannot get you a good laptop, especially if you are a regular student. Because I had a very hard time finding the laptops that I have defined, for the specs that I have defined, with 15,000 Kenyan shillings. But I tried, I got some, nimepata kadha, and it's a list of how many? 4 reasonable laptops. There is the 5th one and the 6th one, which really do not make sense. The first laptop that I got was Lenovo X360 8th gen. There is a second one, Lenovo 300E. There is the third one, Acer Travel Bay X360. The fourth one is Lenovo ThinkPad Yoga 11E. And now the 5th one and the 6th one, which I found it difficult to just put them on the list, because the 2 laptops have HDD type of storage. But if you can get the laptops with the SSD type of storage, then it's a good option to consider them before buying. Now there is HP ProBook 11, that is G1 or G2. There is the 6th one, HP EliteBook 840 G1. Okay, remember the need that we specified in, is it episode 3, that we need speed. We need speed. Okay, given the circumstances that we are in, we are going to tailor series laptops for regular students, standard laptop for regular students. All right, because this laptop now haiwezi bro, haiwezi. But hii laptop inaweza kushikilia for a while as you plan to buy another one. Okay, now with such a budget, getting a good laptop that has no problem, it's quite tricky. The first laptop that I've mentioned, utapata iko na overheating issues, battery life concerns. And now the second one, Lenovo 300E, hinge failures. Na hinge ni issue kubwa, because I'm pretty sure the material of the casing is a bit of a compromise. And now there's ghost touch or screen touch issues. Okay, as for the third laptop is display problems and black screens or flickering. There's a Lenovo ThinkPad Yoga 11E. There's iko na issues za overheating na battery draining na display problems. Now as for the other laptops, HP ProBook na EliteBooks, hizo, the only problem that I encountered is most of them have HDD na sisi tuko na interest na SSD. Those are the laptops that you are supposed to consider, and I've told you the problems that you might encounter with them. Okay, if you buy them, before buying, make sure that you consider that. It's good that I mentioned that RAM haitazidi 4GB RAM na storage haitazidi 128. It's good that I mentioned that. If you get an 8GB and 256 SSD with the same budget, put a big question mark to the person who is selling that laptop to you, because one, when you are making a laptop, kuna venye engineering inafanyangwa, like you have to balance out all the hardwares so that ikupe at least an optimal performance, because chances are some hardware components have been compromised so that zingine zipewe priority zenye unajaribu kuuziwa. Okay, with 15,000 Kenyan shillings you can't get more than 4GB RAM and more than 128GB SSD. Now sikatai, unaweza pata 300GBs 512 gigs with HDD, but SSD haitapita 128. So it's upon you to figure out and consider that before you're buying that laptop. Ama I'll give you an option. Why don't you take that 15k uyeke mahali and then uongeze ka 10k, itakuja ka 25k. 25k can get you a good laptop that you can use as a student. Alright, so yeah, that's the list that I came up with. Okay, I won't talk much about these laptops, but let's meet in the next episode as I show you what are some of the skills that you can equip yourself as a regular student. Zenye rare skills. It's not the normal skills that you often hear around. Here we talk about the rare skills. Okay, see you on the next episode. As a university or college student, what are some of the skills that you can equip yourself with to build your personal capacity? Note that the skills that will be recommended in this episode are based on the laptop that we have come up with from our previous episode. Since this laptop doesn't have much capabilities, I recommend web-based skills that you can be practicing with. Number one skill that you can equip yourself with is copywriting. Okay, and kama unataka kujua copywriting ni nini, go to YouTube or any other platform including Google, figure out what copywriting is, and I'll make it easier for you. I want you to niche down to email marketing sequences or landing page copy. Okay, go figure out what I'm talking about. Now, number two skill that you can equip yourself with is technical SEO, that is search engine optimization. Go to YouTube or go to Google, figure out what is search engine optimization. Of course, these skills are very broad. When I talk about copywriting, it's a huge skill, so you need to niche down to the areas that I've mentioned. As for the technical SEO, you need to niche down to learn schema markup and site auditing. Okay, or you can choose any other area that suits you. Number three skill that you can learn is no-code database management by Notion or Airtable. Go figure out what Notion is, what Airtable is, and what is no-code database management in YouTube ama Google. Okay, hiyo sasa ni homework yako. The three skills that I've mentioned are entirely browser-based tools. So that laptop has the ability to do all that stuff. I need to mention something about the third skill, no-code database management with Notion or Airtable. You can be a Notion certified consultant. Now, companies are paying consultants to set up their internal wikis, project trackers, and CRM inside Notion. Now, for it to be effective to equip yourself with the skills that I've mentioned, then you need to do the following. You need to be giving time. You need to be showing up every day. Give time to one of the skills that I've mentioned. Don't pick all. In fact, choose one, practice daily, and be good at it. Be giving at least 30 minutes of your time. I'm pretty sure shule itachukua 24 hours. And I am pretty sure that you have your own personal time to do your own things. Now, out of that personal time to do your own things, kazi si watch movie, and you have a good laptop. It can do something for you. It can help you build your personal capacity. Now, is that mean it's too much to ask? Do this, practice this within 1 year. come here and tell me that you are the same person that you were 1 year ago when you started that equipping yourself with the skills that I've mentioned. Oh, kitu ingine, ukishamaliza shule, keep this at the back of your mind. There is no job for you. After graduation, there is no job for you. Make yourself the job, alright? By the end of the 4 years, and you are a first year, you will have acquired so much knowledge in that area, such that hata ukitoka huko nje, you will have something to show. And that save you from many things that graduates wanapitia huku nje. Anyway, series ni kuisha inaisha. The next episode will be finalizing everything. We have come to the end of series 2, a series that was dedicated to regular students who do not have much needs or are not doing much with their laptops. Okay, we came up with the specs, we defined the needs, and all that. But this series is going to guide you on how to come up with the specs based on needs and how to choose a good laptop for your needs as a regular student. Now, I need to mention that you might have a different budget. Ama utaki hizi laptops za kawaida, hizi zinatumia Windows. You want a laptop that is MacBook, ama any other laptop. You need consultation. Send a direct message and then we'll be able to help you. Laptops that I've mentioned ziko na processor ya Intel, okay? Maybe you want a laptop with the processor from Ryzen, okay, and you don't know what to look at. You can DM us through TikTok messages, ama you can reach us through WhatsApp. The link is in our bio, and make sure that you follow us, okay? So if you have anything that is related to laptops or computers, you can talk to us or you can comment below, and then we'll be happy to reply. Series imeisha hivyo. Let's meet in the next series, which will be dedicated for engineering students. Adios.